condo, he's asking the government to give him a tax abatement, and if he's read the article, he's looking for a 20-year tax abatement. Now what that tax abatement does, it doesn't change the taxes. What it does is shifts the burden of the taxes from his building to everybody else. So that is not going to happen. Not that. If it was a shorter-term deal, and in the long term, that's a good idea, because now it's going to be condo and they will go to market value. That's a great idea. That helps the town, because now what happens is the tax burden shifts to his building now because the value is higher. I know it's kind of a little convoluted, but that's how it works. And we have legal opinion that says that we do not have the right to grant those type of rebates in what he wants. So this will never happen. 20 years will never happen.
I just wanted to say that the borough would have been willing to look at giving that building a 5-year tax abatement, but they were unwilling to compromise and wanted a 20-year abatement. And from what I've learned, there is no legal precedent that the co-op association wants us to go to Trenton, that the burden should be on this council to spend money to get the legal precedent. And that's not our responsibility.
Very quickly.
I just want to say that this is an example. There was $50,000 spent on this study. I knew about it because I was running and someone gave it to me to read, but most of us don't know about it. It's something about transparency, should be in the Fort Lee Today, should be on the site if people want to read it, because you're paying for it.
You need a mic?
Thank you. I'd like to bring the panelists back to the question about the school situation here in Fort Lee. There's a tendency throughout Fort Lee, the state, and the nation to vote down school budgets, and specifically vote down capital expense budgets. No matter what form the proposal is going to be submitted to the public, there's a good bet it's going to be turned down. And I think it's appropriate for these candidates to face the issue. We have increased enrollment. We have a fixed school base. Where do we go from here? I'm an academician who's a management professional. And internally within the school programs, a good internal audit, if it's done, they will find money. They always do, no matter what the industry or subject is.
That's a question that you should answer to the school board. This is the council.
That doesn't matter.
He made his point.
It's a major issue.
Good work, Charlie.
Okay, we have one last person to speak.
My question is in reference to the building inspectors and the permits that we need to have something that's broken in our homes, get it changed, and we need a permit. I personally had an air conditioner condenser that was broken. I had to replace it, and it cost me $240 to replace it. That was a permit. Then I had not one inspector come to inspect it. I had 3. And I know of other instances that permits are very high. Changing a boiler would cost someone like $520 or $520. Is this necessary to have it so expensive and to get the permit to replace something that's broken in your own home?
Good question. Yes or no?
Is there an answer for that?
Yes or no? Yes or no?
What is the answer?
There unfortunately are certain codes that have to be applied and that have to be that the person who's doing the repair has to be in conformance with. We have to have inspectors go out to make sure. And the issue, was the air conditioner on top of the house or below the house, on the level?
Outside.
Okay, so probably they needed an electrical inspector, there's a plumbing hookup, and there's construction on
Okay,
there.
excuse me for a moment. I had a whole house built,
Uh-huh.
one inspector.
Well, I think you had an inspector, I think you also had a plumbing inspector, I think you had
I don't think
you had
so.
some code officials, you had to. Because I had my kitchen redone, and I had electric, I had plumbing, I had construction, when it comes to the house. So it is, and as far as the fees go, my understanding is the fees are set, and that this is what they charge.
The state requires it,
That's ridiculous.
but the state requires most of it.
That's a sham.
I was
After the
just gonna say, maybe the state requires it, but that sounds outrageous, those prices. And I think part of the council's responsibility is to bring to the attention of the state when things are ridiculous. And I think that that's something, I was definitely not aware of that. I live in a co-op, and it's a little different the way we learn about things, and we're charged. But I would definitely look into that, and even if we were bound by that, I think that is worth a call to Trenton.
I agree with you.
I like what that man said, an internal audit. Hello. I like what that man said, the internal audit. Have somebody come in and do an internal audit and see how we can cut the red tape and the excessive regulation and fees. I said it with the business, now I'm saying it with personal. And some of these fees are set by the council. No, none of they are.
Let's call it a night.
Now, we've had the last question. The candidates will give their summations, and let's drop it down. I think you can do it in 2 minutes rather than the 3. Let's do the 2 minutes.
On your mark.
All right, who's up?
Jan was first, so John is first.
Fort Lee voters have a choice on election day. You can vote for the status quo and expect more of the same, more density and congestion, rising taxes, and a local government that votes in lockstep and leaves no room for new thoughts or ideas. Tonight you heard from 4 people who are asking for your vote on November 2nd. I submit to you that the choice is clear. The opponents represent the status quo. The status quo is a culture, a thought process, a philosophy from which we differ. You have heard them talk about all the wonderful things they've done with your money. They have told you that they have done their best and that nothing else can be done. I believe them. Fort Lee is a great town, but there is stagnation, no movement forward, no progress. My opponents are 2 perfectly nice people. If you vote for them, however, they will continue without a plan or any new ideas, spending more, taking more money out of your pockets. Conversely, you have heard from Martha Cohen and myself about how new ideas, a different approach and philosophy to government and participation can make Fort Lee friendlier, more affordable, and vibrant. We know that sometimes solutions can come from you, the people. I know that people from both parties sometimes can solve most of today's problems. We will listen. Our team is a good blend of life, business, and public service experience from 2 people that may have had different backgrounds, but are united in our desire to serve the public. Remember, maintaining the status quo will never bring progress. We are your alternative to the status quo. I was speaking with a senior citizen outside the A&P the other day, and after explaining my platform, I said to her, she said to me, you know, you make a lot of sense and you look like an honest man, but I'm a lifelong Democrat and I can't vote for you. And I looked up and I said, but Mom. Please vote column 1 on November 2nd. Thank you.
In closing, I want to thank Lena Levinson and the homeowners. I want to thank our Mayor Sokolich for having the confidence in me. And I want to thank Chairwoman Kay Nest for her confidence and continued support. I want to thank the voters for their past support and pledge my continued time and effort to deliver a better quality of of life in our community that we are all enthusiastic about living in. I have performance, not promises, and the future is full of continued financial scrutiny. Thank you.
I want to thank everybody, but I only have 2 minutes, so please consider yourself thanked. I ask you to consider voting for me, and I'll tell you why. I know what we face in Fort Lee. These are tough times, and in such times we need people like us to be at the table asking the questions and demanding answers and action on the things that are important. We need someone who doesn't consider our tax money to be other people's money, but treats every penny as if it is their own. I'm that person. Tonight, the courageous former Fort Lee mayor and lifelong Democrat Burt Ross spoke in town. In the record, he said, when you go on a local level, there is no great philosophical difference between the parties. You're not dealing with the social issues. You're dealing with an honest accounting of who can give you the best bang for your taxpayers' buck. The question for you is, have Jan and Isla been effective in their 9 years on the council? Have they given you the best bang for your ever-increasing tax bill? Are they worthy of a 4th term? Or is it time to open the door to someone new and break up this one-party monopoly that dates back more than a decade? Here's what I stand for and what I'll fight for. Cut spending, not services. True transparency and fiscal accountability. Economic revitalization and term limits. We can't do the best for Fort Lee with entrenched politicians who fill vacancies in the council with their own people who then run as incumbents. I will offer a resolution for term limits for both the council and mayor to serve no more than 2 consecutive terms with a minimum of 8 years before they can run again. I will be the first to sign on. We are at a critical juncture now in Fort Lee, and there is no time to waste in changing our failing course to one of growth and prosperity. It won't be easy, but the first step is always the hardest. Take it now by voting to change the composition of the council and continue it by becoming more active in the years ahead. No one can do it alone, but I am confident with the tremendous talent in our community, there is no end to what we can achieve here in Fort Lee.
Thank you. And John, I got to tell you, that was a great story. I like that. Yeah, and your mother's a Democrat. That's great. There was a time, though, she could have voted for you. You were a Democrat, too.
But that was long ago.
You know, there was some things said, and you know, we're talking about shuttles. There are shuttles in town, and sometimes you listen to people who want to get elected, and they make it sound like we don't have these things. So I have 18 points that I just want to make clear. And then if I have time, I want to talk a little bit about the arbitration and civil service.
2 minutes.
Bottom line is, there's no cutbacks in municipal service. We don't have to furlough or lay off any employees. Interest and principal reduced in the budget by $1 million for the debt. The total borough debt has been reduced $18 million over 3 years. Through attrition, we've reduced by almost 40 employees, 20 of them police officers, who, by the way, have left because they were afraid of what Governor Christie was going to do to them, which put a financial burden on us to pay out those sick days and vacation days, because they didn't know how the rule was going to be enforced. We did an ambulance billing service. We're going to collect over $900,000 this year. So when we think out of the box, we've been thinking out of the box. We've been finding additional revenue. We've been finding ways to cut costs. We've been finding ways to share costs. We're one of 2 municipalities in the state to receive a grant from early retirement. 2 municipalities in Bergen, I'm sorry, that we're going to get subsidized for our retirees for their health benefits. Only 2 municipalities got it. Fort Lee is one of them. So we're always looking for money. We're looking for ways to reduce costs. We're fighting police arbitration. And as John knows, and he should know, he was on the council, arbitration is declared by the police department. They declare an impasse. They declare going to arbitration. It's not us. And I will tell you, next year, I negotiated contracts when I was on the council last time. I didn't go to arbitration. I got them settled. I'm going to arbitrate. I'm going to go deal with the police next year, if it's okay with the mayor and council. We've eliminated health benefit costs by $200,000. We've removed garbage. Our garbage contract is $200,000 less by breaking up tipping fees. Our services are the same. We have expanded programs at the senior center. We gave the library more money than they had before, and our recreation department is in full swing. So I agree with the question you asked. Have we done a good job? I believe we did. I believe we deserve your vote. And I hope that you'll come out on November 2nd and vote column 2 in the next election. Thank you.
Please remain in your seats. We have a few words from Mrs. Levinson.
Make it fast.
Thank you. I usually do.
Atta girl.
Please vote November 2nd. Thank you all for coming. I want to thank all the candidates for coming, and I want to thank our moderator for coming.
Yes.
And there are a few cookies left, and I'm sure the candidates will be willing to talk to anybody who has any questions.